The diplomatic hall of the Zarian Nexus gleamed with bioluminescent panels, casting an ethereal glow across the gathered representatives of 47 species. Purred adjusted his collar nervously, acutely aware that he was the only human in a room full of telepaths, empaths, and beings whose senses operated on wavelengths he couldn't even imagine. Just don't think anything stupid, he told himself. Keep it professional. Beside him, Ambassador Elsa moved with the fluid grace of a predator. She wasn't human, not entirely. The Felinar were a species that had evolved from feline ancestry on a world where thought itself was currency. Her silver fur caught the light and her vertical pupils tracked every movement in the room with unsettling precision. Purred had been assigned as her human liaison 3 weeks ago, and in that time he'd learned one crucial thing. The Felinar could read surface thoughts as easily as humans read facial expressions. The trick, they said, was to keep your mind blank, professional, controlled. She's actually quite beautiful, Purred thought before he could stop himself. Those eyes are... Elsa's ear twitched. Just slightly. Purred's blood ran cold, but she didn't turn around. Maybe she hadn't caught that. Maybe he was being paranoid. The Nexus Administrator, a gaseous being contained in a crystalline suit, began the proceedings. We gathered to discuss humanity's petition for inclusion in the Galactic Commerce Collective. The human species has demonstrated remarkable technological advancement, but there are concerns about their mental discipline. Mental discipline? Purred thought indignantly. We've built interstellar drives, artificial intelligence, quantum computers. Their thoughts are chaotic, contributed a Mindweaver, its voice like wind chimes. Loud, undisciplined, it would be uncomfortable for telepathic species. Purred felt his jaw tighten. This was exactly the prejudice humanity had faced since first contact. Yes, humans couldn't naturally shield their thoughts. Yes, their minds were messier than species who'd evolved with telepathy. But that didn't make them lesser. Pompous jellyfish, he thought viciously, staring at the translucent Mindweaver. Just because you can hear thoughts doesn't make you superior. Humanity has survived wars, plagues, extinction events. We've thrived without telepathy. We don't need... Elsa turned her head slowly, deliberately. Her luminous green eyes locked onto his. A small, knowing smile played at the corners of her feline mouth, revealing the hint of sharp teeth. She leaned closer, her whisper barely audible but carrying a purring undertone that made his spine tingle. Careful, human. I hear everything, Purred's heart hammered. Every thought he'd had over the past 3 weeks flashed through his mind in horrible succession. Every stray observation about her appearance. Every frustrated mental complaint about protocols, every moment of self-doubt. But Elsa's expression wasn't angry. It was amused. She straightened and addressed the assembly, her voice carrying the melodic quality of her species. If I may speak on behalf of the human contingent. The administrator's crystalline form shimmered in acknowledgement. I have worked closely with Specialist Purred for 21 standard cycles, Elsa began. And yes, human thoughts are vibrant, unfiltered, sometimes startlingly honest. Her tail swished once, and Purred caught what might have been a wink. But this perceived weakness is actually humanity's greatest strength. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Mindweaver's form pulsed with skepticism. Elsa continued, pacing the floor with predatory confidence. Telepathic species have learned to guard their thoughts, to create barriers, to engage in mental diplomacy. We've had millennia to develop shields and protocols. But humans? She gestured to Purred. They adapted to a universe of telepaths in less than a generation. Purred blinked. Where was she going with this? Specialist Purred cannot shield his thoughts naturally, yet he has learned to function in this environment. Do you know how? Not by suppressing his nature, but by embracing radical honesty. When a human knows you can hear their thoughts, they think more carefully. They confront their own biases. They grow. The Mindweaver drifted closer. This is sophistry. Undisciplined thoughts create mental noise. Mental noise that prevented 3 assassination attempts. Elsa interrupted smoothly. Mental noise that your trained telepaths missed because they were too busy filtering out the chaos. But Specialist Purred noticed anomalies. His undisciplined, pattern-seeking human mind caught discrepancies in behavior that telepaths had dismissed. Purred's eyes widened. He had reported those observations, but he'd assumed they were filed away and ignored. Humanity thinks differently, Elsa pressed. Messily, yes. Chaotically sometimes, but also creatively, adaptively, and with a resilience that telepathic species have cultivated out of themselves. We've made our minds gardens. Humans have kept theirs wild forests, and forests have biodiversity that gardens lack. The chamber fell silent. The administrator's crystalline form refracted light in complex patterns, its species equivalent of deep thought. Finally it spoke. Ambassador Elsa, you propose that humanity's mental enthusiasm is an asset? I propose that diversity of cognition is as valuable as diversity of biology, Elsa replied. The collective claims to value all forms of intelligence. If we reject humans because their thoughts are too loud, too honest, too alive, then we are not the enlightened union we claim to be. We're just another exclusive club. She's magnificent, Purred thought, then immediately tried to suppress it. Elsa's ear twitched again, and this time he definitely saw her smile. The administrator considered. We shall deliberate. But Ambassador Elsa, your arguments are compelling. Humanity may have more advocates than they realize. As the assembly dispersed, Purred finally dared to speak aloud. You used my thoughts. In your argument, Elsa's tail swished playfully. I told you I hear everything. That includes your respect for other species, your frustration with injustice, your determination to prove humanity's worth. She paused. And yes, your stray observations about my appearance. Purred felt heat rise in his cheeks. Don't be embarrassed, she purred. Telepaths find human thoughts refreshing precisely because they're so transparent. You can't lie to yourself the way we can. Her expression softened. Your mind is loud, Purred, but it's also beautiful. Like a star burning bright, impossible to ignore. Purred smiled despite himself. So humanity might actually get into the collective? With the right advocates, Elsa said, anything is possible. She began walking toward the exit, then glanced back. Oh, and Purred, my eyes are my best feature. But thank you for noticing. She disappeared through the doorway, leaving Purred standing alone, his chaotic human mind racing with hope, embarrassment, and the thrilling possibility that humanity's greatest weakness had just become its ticket to the stars.